So their happiness, what does it say? 温法拥月住虚空, right? Their 自在天王与天众, the god Ishvara and all the other gods, hearing the Dharma, jump for joy. Their happiness moved them. We saw this last week. We had a visit from a 3-year-old, Taiwanese 3-year-old, who had been raised by a family of performers. This is our friends, the puppet troupe from Taiwan. And they are theatrical, they're theater people, and they're always on stage and helping young people experience theater and writing scripts and performing them and teaching theater arts. And so this 3-year-old, they say, has been on stage since she was 5 months old. She made her stage debut and, still in diapers. And so she's a particularly fearless 3-year-old. We were all impressed with how precocious this young woman was. Young girl, not a woman yet. She's a young girl. And I brought down a puppet, a rabbit, and had a rabbit in my hands. And some of our Dharma friends here mentioned that she saw that rabbit and she actually leapt in space. We have a picture. Jerry snapped the shutter. And this young girl her feet are not on the ground. She's flying towards this rabbit, just like that. And she's not an adult, she's not sophisticated. When she feels it, she shows it. And she was like, and she's off the ground. Both feet are off the ground, heading towards the rabbit, jumping for joy. She was animated to the point where it lifted her off the ground. And there are some other pictures, and she's like, just all happy. We're all grumpy adults. That's very nice, yes. And then we look a couple times out of the corners because we want to keep our cool. So she was jumping for joy. She's 3 years old. And it was quite wonderful to watch this young girl. She later performed for us. She danced. And all the adults, after about an hour and a half of this, were kind of sitting down going, and she was, 我一点都不疲倦. I am not tired at all, she said. And we're like, yeah, we can see that. Doing, doing, doing. Oh, my goodness. To have the energy of a 3-year-old. Wow. So, quite wonderful to see somebody jump for joy. And it didn't take much. It was a rabbit puppet. But she was off the ground, jumping for joy. So, here we have devas who live in the realm of happiness because, why? Blessings. Their blessings are abundant. And the devas are jumping for joy because they've gotten something better than a rabbit. They've got the Buddha Dharma, which allows them to understand things they never understood. They can see further than they've ever seen before. They make connections that they've never made before. They know that when they go back, having heard the Dharma, they'll be able to say things that will help people's pain go away the way they never had before. It's like a doctor who is now empowered to treat illnesses that he never was empowered to do before. Our very own Jason is going up to learn root canals, and one of our other parishioners, who is also a dentist, last week after the lecture said, he said, I've been a dentist now for 27 years and I've never done root canals. You know why? He said, it's very, very, very hard. Those the nerves are what a root canal is. I didn't know anything. They're like hair fine. And they don't go straight. They curl around. Sometimes they loop. And if you're a dentist doing root canals, you have to go in there and extract this thing that's as fine as a human hair. Fine as an eyebrow, right? You can't see any hair here. So eyebrow. They're that fine. And you have to pretty much guess where they go if they curl and twist, and you have to get the whole thing out, and it's extremely difficult. There's an art to getting root canals out. I had no idea. And he said, this This is really difficult, and that's why whenever I have patients who require it, I send them to a colleague of mine who specializes in it. And you need special tools and special techniques and kung fu to do root canals. And so I thought, gee, I had no idea. So these devas here, whose lives are very comfortable, are jumping for joy because now they have learned dharma that allows them to do psychic root canals. You get the connection? Did you like that analogy, the way I started? So they are able to extract living beings' afflictions as fine as a hair. So how wonderful. Yeah. So really, once you understand the dharmas of the fourth ground, you can wake people up in a way you never could before. So, and they stay aloft in empty space, and what else? Pu fang zhong zhong miao guang yun. Everywhere, pu, they fang, they send out, they emit, they release, they shoot out, zhong zhong, not one, not two, but many kinds of miao guang yun, clouds of wonderful light. Anybody who can I direct your gaze around behind you to the facing on the balcony? It's not clouds of wonderful light, it's just rays of wonderful light. But you can see the green dragon right here on the facing of the balcony. And Guan Yin's halo is over under the clock, right there. And if there were incense in the air, you would have clouds of wondrous light right there. Now, it's not miraculous because why? It's sunlight. Sun is coming through our stained glass window at the right angle, and we're in mid-July now, so it's still 8 o'clock. We still have light. Come October, the light's gone by about 4. But tonight we have wonderful light, and when we were doing the ceremony, there were clouds of incense coming across. So you can imagine what it must be like when the gods themselves put out the lights, send out these lights. Gong yang ru lai shi chung bian. And what are they doing with these lights? They're making offerings to the Buddhas. And their happiness pervades. Shi chung bian. Happiness fills up everywhere. Okay. One of the main themes in the sutra that comes up over and over and over again is giving and its rewards. That's a foundation of dharma, generosity, giving. And that, when I first studied this, that took me completely by surprise. How much the sutra values giving. It's the start. It's the first paramita. It's the first, it's actually the third of Samantabhadra's vows, giving everywhere. But I once did a survey of all the sets of dharmas, the 4 of this, the 5 of this, the 6 of this, the 7 of this, etc. And of the various lists, giving was first in about 6 out of 8. 6 out of 9 of the lists. Giving is really important. And there's all kinds of giving. There's giving up, meaning letting go of. Renouncing, that's a kind of giving. Things you can do without, right? You let them go. There's giving in the sense of charity, giving to benefit, like clothes, food, dwellings, shelter, and medicine. Giving to the Sangha, kinds of appropriate offerings. But this is gongyang. That's what's mentioned here. This is a special kind of giving that comes from us to, you say, above. Now, you can give, and there's actually a sutra that talks about the benefits of the various kinds of giving. The comparative benefits. And it's fascinating because it says, if you really want a lot of gongda, if you want a lot of merit and virtue, good results, then you can give to, how does it go? Does it go increasing or decreasing? I think it goes from low to high. It says you can give to people in need, beggars. And that's a really blessed thing. I think it even starts with animals. You can feed an animal. right? And that's a really good thing. If you give food to an animal, then you've relieved suffering. But because the animal has a shorter lifespan, has a less of an opportunity to cultivate, it's not as blessed, meaning doesn't generate as much goodness as giving to a poor person or a crippled person or a sick person. That kind of giving is said to be an awesome field of blessings, Futian. So if you plant those, Connie? Okay. Can you hang on to that? Let me do because I'm in the middle of a thing and you can ask it in a minute, don't forget. Okay, giving to a homeless person, giving to somebody who is sick, is full of blessings, but it's not as blessed as giving to a holder of the 5 precepts, right? And giving to somebody who holds the 5 precepts, a layperson, creates a lot of merit and virtue. But it's not as blessed as, right? And the sutra goes up and up and up and up and up. And it even gives the equivalence. So if you give to, ultimately I think it's a Buddha, I guess is the last one, the amount of merit and virtue that you create by giving anything to a fully awakened living being, a Buddha, is the highest way to plant field of blessing. And it's, there's a sutra that gives it specifically, but you can, if you tell this, you can draw it out to all different degrees. Why is this true? And this is why I wanted to bring this point up. Here we have look at our verb here, Gongyang Rulai Shi Chongbian. When you make offerings to the Tathagata, they made offerings to the Tathagata, and their happiness was filling up everywhere. Shi Chongbian. Their happiness they got happy when they gave. Check this. This is the point. When I grew up, getting was happy, not giving. I understood that the point of birthdays, holidays, when grandmother came to visit, if you were Chinese, it was Guonian. You got stuff. New Year's, you got stuff. That was happy for children and people whose minds are still in that state. Getting stuff is the point. And we like to get stuff. We are trained as consumers. Getting stuff is good, it's happy. The Buddha Dharma turns that on its head, and it says, in fact, happiness comes from giving. Giving is the source of happiness. And not only does it make you happy to give, but if you look at those different kinds of giving down, which is charity to people who are in need, so they have sufficiency, giving at a level which is sharing things, birthday gifts, giving, a cross, and then giving up, making offerings, as well as letting go, renunciation. Those kind of givings create more and more and more happiness. So why would a god be filling up space with joy from making offerings to a Buddha? Is it because the Buddha wants the stuff? The Buddha's delighted and is going to be nicer to you if you give him more stuff? No, I don't think so. I thought about this a lot, and I'd like to hear people's views on it. Why is giving to a Buddha a generator of more goodness than giving to who you'd say, a homeless person on the street? You would think that, giving to somebody who's like really suffering would be the greater field of blessings. Okay, Connie, do you have an idea on this? Can you turn that on and talk into it?
Maybe it's because you'll be giving to a doctor who can supply more to more people.
I didn't quite hear you. You have to say a little louder.
So the Buddha's like a doctor who needs resources to support him in order to continue healing more people. So you'll be giving to one person, but you'll be giving to many as well in one time.
Yeah, that's an idea. Anybody else? Why is giving to a Buddha? Why is planting the Buddha's field of blessings generating more goodness than giving, healing somebody's illness? Jerry.
It's similar to quantum but the other would say it has multiplied effect. open up people's mind. And most people can then helping more people open up their mind.
Okay. It's multiplying the effect. He said it's similar to what Connie said. Because when you give to the Buddha, it allows, so let me see if I say it right. It allows the Buddha to then further teach more people. So it multiplies. Is that your point? Okay, good. Yeah. Alan.
I forgot the name of the sutra, but I read a story about one of the sage, the great disciple of the Buddha. He made a sincere offering to the Buddha, and then I think probably Buddha passed on the offering maybe to a dog, or maybe Buddha offered something to a wandering dog. And then the sutra text asked, so what merit and virtue was kind of generated through these two kinds of offering? And then the answer was that
Can we get that mic across here?
pass on the offering or made the offering to the wandering dog is more than maybe Shariputra or someone make a sincere offering to the
Mike. Okay, do you mind saying it one more time so everybody can hear? Otherwise I have to repeat.
Okay. I forgot the name of the sutra, but I remember I read that once. One of the enlightened disciples of the Buddha make a sincere offering to the Shakyamuni Buddha. And then at one time the Buddha pass on the offering to a dog, or maybe just kind of share some food to the dog, wandering dog. And then the sutra asks, so what kind of merit and virtue was generated more for this kind of two kinds of offering? One is a enlightened disciple make offering to the Buddha, and Buddha pass on something, share the food to a dog. And then the answer was when the Buddha feed a wandering dog, that generate the endless kind of merit and virtue.
Okay, and do you recall, did the Buddha explain?
I don't remember that.
Okay.
I just remember that was the case.
Okay, yeah. So, Alan is mentioning another sutra that talks about giving. Once you discover this, we call it a meme, M-E-M-E, once you discover this theme of comparative giving and the benefits of giving, you discover it everywhere. It's all over Buddhism. It's the beginning of practice. How important is it? Of the paramitas, the perfections, the ways that bodhisattvas practice, it's number one, and number two is precepts, right? And they come in pairs. So precepts or giving and precepts, patience and vigor, that was number 4, samadhi and wisdom, those are the 6. They come in pairs, and this is the samadhi, we're starting number 5. So if you think, gee, I want to become a Buddhist, I would like to find out more about this religion, about this community, about these teachings. So to start, what do? You give, and you start you come closer to the precepts. Bit by bit, you lead a more virtuous life. All right, why? Why those? Of all the things it could be, why? Okay, I have a theory. And now Jerry's answer and Connie's answer were about increasing the efficacy of the receiver. I think that giving acts more on the part of the giver. It's what happens to you when you give that starts things off. Because why? The Buddha does not need your stuff, right? The Buddha does not need your incense, your flowers, your food, your lamps, your candles, your bedding, your medicine, right? I mean, the Buddha has a body, and he's a monk. If you saw him, if he walked in, you'd see this tall monk. And for sure, he needs 4 requisites. What are they? The 4 things that people offer to the Sangha. They offer food and drink, clothing, medicine, right, when you're sick, and shelter, and Macintosh laptops. You all know that. That's the 5th, and occasionally guitar strings, right? Now, so food, clothing, shelter, medicine, those are the 4 standards. Does the Buddha want those things? He wants them for his Sangha, and we always say when the Ulambana Sutra comes around, and that's going to be coming up pretty soon, that one of the reasons why the Buddha praises the giving in Ulambana is so that the Sangha gets offerings to last the year round, right? Okay, so yes, those things are important. The Buddha is beyond, I need, I want. Why is giving number one? It's because every time we give away part of the self. That's why it starts things off. When we can give, we let go of a little bit of what I know to be me and mine, which is what the root of the problem. The root of the problem of ignorance that leads to suffering is this sense of me and mine, which is right in the center of almost every single thing I do. Me and mine. I'm the most important single unit of the universe for most of us. And here is, absolutely no mistake, the book about people who do not believe that to be true. The sutra is about people who take others as equally important as the self. Not that the self is unimportant. You have to have a driver's license. You have to have an email address to get along. Probably not the email address, but you get the point. However, the Bodhisattva, all of these grounds are for the purpose of seeing that the self is an illusory self. It's not a real permanent thing. It's changing all the time. It's a constructed self. Many conditions come together to make me who I think I am. My story. Okay. Don't believe it? How many of us were born on the ground that we live on today? How many of us were born in the place that we now call our address? Not very many of us. And occasionally we ask this question at Tiance, and there's always like 2 out of 20 who say, I'm still living in the house that I was born in. In fact, I live in the same room I was born in. I was born in Berkeley, and I lived here all my life. There's usually 1 or 2, or San Francisco, right? Most of us are multiple, right? I am Scots-Irish through Canada, Midwesterner, born near the Great Lakes, who has been in California more than half of my life, by far. Okay? So I'm multiple. And if you ask my sister, she's convinced that someday I'm going to pull a zipper and this Chinese person is going to jump out from inside. So we're all multiple. We're all like constructed, right? The self that we think is so real and true and permanent is made up of stuff. It's changing all the time. It's as multiple as the clothes in your closet. Okay? The body is just one piece of it. Okay. So when we can give pieces of that away, happily, joyfully, willingly, with a good heart, that kind of shakes up that sense of self. That's the beginning of cultivation. So, yes, Jerry?
You mentioned offering to Buddha is beyond me, and then you offering to him the peace, you're giving part of ourselves. But then you didn't. I'm still wondering why is this about giving part of ourselves? Why is that different? If you're giving to Buddha and giving to man.
Yeah, okay. So Jerry's question is about comparative, right? The comparative merits of giving. And, excuse me, if you look at the way the sutra sketches it out, it talks about gongda, the merit and virtue. The difference between a Buddha and us is how much covers our nature versus how much covers the Buddha nature. Another way to say it, this is deep Dharma theory. Okay, so go with me to this theory and see if we can make sense of it. The process of cultivation, and these people we're reading about, these bodhisattvas, almost done. They're way along the road towards success, towards the completion of their practice. And what they have done that we are still doing is they've removed the covers from over what's called their nature, their 自性, the virtue of their own nature. As a result, every bit that you give away or scrape off or cultivate away allows you to shine, they say, with a brighter light. Now, you've met people who somehow seem radiant, people who seem magnetic in a way, people who just, you feel a kinship, you feel a connection. The Chinese say yuan fan. You feel a connection to them, organically, somehow, spontaneously. I would say that possibly it's because those people are virtuous. Not just charisma. It's because they have some light about them. And we don't necessarily see it with our own eyes. Okay, can you imagine what it's like to be in the presence of a Buddha? Imagine what a Buddha would be like. Somebody who has done that work completely. What's it like? I don't know specifically, but I do know that the sutra is always talking about light. That word comes up all the time. Here, what do we have? Here, Deva's sending light out from their body. So a Buddha, apparently, when you uncover your nature, it shines, they say. Your nature shines. And when we look at, can we look at over here at Manjushri? Notice that round thing around his head? The round thing around Amitabha. Okay, look at the Buddha standing on our altar here. The central Buddha who's standing. That kind of hard to describe shape, that leaf-like shape around him, that's the artist's way of depicting light that shines from the Buddha, they say, right? They talk about it as what? The aura, right? The surround, the guangquan, they say in Chinese, the circle of light. Apparently, now, if you and I, if any of us had our eyes open, we could probably see that light. I don't see it. And that was, Shifu used to tease us all the time. Oh, you can't see it? Oh, it's so colorful. Well, you can't? Huh, okay. It's like teasing it. And what is that light? It's the light of your nature, my nature, uncovered. So, to get back to the question, when you make an offering to someone whose nature is completely uncovered and shining and brilliant, you are connecting to that source, and it increases your giving away some material thing in order to move closer to that source of light. So that's what they say, comparatively, the merit of doing that inside what it does to you as you give that gift is it brings you closer. It's funny, you go out so you can come back in closer to your nature. Now, if you give to a homeless person, let's say, who is, I am a homeless person. There are two homeless people in the room, myself and Master Daxing, right? I mean, I am a homeless person, indeed. I have an address here, but I don't live here entirely. I've lived in many, many monasteries around the world. So if you give to a person on the street who often has mental problems, maybe resulting from their experiences as a veteran of our many, many, many foreign wars, and they were kicked out of the VA at a certain point when their benefits shrank, etc., etc. I won't go there tonight. But somebody on the street who is unhappy, who is often addicted in a way to get through the day, substances in order to take the pain away, someone who is anxious, someone who is frightened at night because they're ultimately vulnerable to gangs, to robbers, to thieves, to all kinds of illness, someone whose nature is afflicted and covered. There's goodness. There is human kindness there. There is removing suffering. But in terms, and you're letting go of something, but you're not going back to a source of light, right? You're feeding a person for a meal, whereas if you could teach them to cook and to grow food, you'd feed them for life, because they could feed themselves. So anyway, I think that's the idea. It's what it does to you vis-a-vis the uncovered nature of the person, the being you're giving to. I think that's how the sutra goes. So when you, now I started this, didn't I, talking about giving. We got way off down the road here. But it's good. This is good, because I wanted people to tune into the giving that goes on in the sutra. Okay, if you don't have the Buddha in front of you, you don't have a Buddha image at home, or maybe you do, but you feel kind of, it's on top of the TV, and you put flowers in front of it, but it doesn't work for you, give to the field of blessings that is your mom. Start there. Taking care, they talk about Tang Shang Zhenfo, right? They talk about the Buddha, the true Buddha in your own home, right? Your mom is the source of your physical life, your body, and she is there entirely to make your life pain-free, right? Moms seem to exist to make it hurt less, to kiss the boo-boo when you bang your finger with a hammer and make it go away, right? That's what moms do. They do it naturally, spontaneously. They don't think about it. This is what moms do. They feed us. They raise us. They make our ouchies go away, right? So mostly we just kind of go down the road. Yeah, my mom, And if we ever turn around and say, that is a huge source of blessings, wouldn't it be nice if we could make our mother's life more blessed, even a little? Flowers go a long way. You ever give flowers to your mom by surprise? It's like they melt. Oh, you shouldn't, they're so pretty. It's like yeah, whoa, she really likes those flowers, Moms love flowers. And don't wait for Mother's Day. Do it by surprise sometime. And, it's amazing. Just the slightest turning around to plant in that field of blessings gives you a clue to what it must be like when you make an offering to a Buddha, who will shine when you make that connection. Why? Because the Buddha, he is seeing someone who is wandering far away, taking one step closer to home. Right? They talk about Amitabha as the kind father, and we are trying to find our true home in the Pure Land, and we're just kind of out there wandering. Today looks pretty good, tomorrow I'm not so sure. Today I recite, tomorrow I forget, and the Buddha's going, okay, they'll get here sooner or later, And if we can make that offering to the Buddha, Namo Amitofo, then the Buddha goes, welcome home, right? In fact, the Bodhisattva Great Strength in the Shurangama Sutra says it's just like a child who finally remembers his mother after having been away for a long time. And as soon as the child returns, then they know they're safe, they're back home. Okay, so this is all, one more thing about giving, and then we're going to move on. In our Avatamsaka Sutra, our very text, in the third practice of Samantabhadra, which is the last chapter, they talk about kinds of giving. Here we go. Here's a place where we hear about kinds of giving. And it says, of all the kinds of giving, giving of dharma is the highest kind. Think about that. It's not a thing. And there are three kinds of giving traditionally in Buddhism. They talk about things. They talk about courage or fearlessness, helping people through fear, saying the right words when somebody is anxious or terrified, calming people who are frightened. That's the second best kind of giving you can do. But of all the kinds of giving, wealth, and it could be diamonds, keys to BMWs, right? Teslas. How about a Tesla? Anybody want to make an offering to the Sangha of a Tesla? We'll sell it on eBay tomorrow and build a monastery with the money it would cost you to buy a Tesla, right? So you can give Teslas, you can give monasteries, and that's all good giving of material goods, wealth, right? That's the first kind, giving of wealth. Second kind, giving of courage or fearlessness, is really valuable. The highest kind of giving is the giving of dharma, says the Sutra. Why? What is that? All right? Think about it. I mean, you think about what you love. We had a round table this week, and our topic was, if you could take one thing with you because you were escaping a fire, you were moving to a desert island, you were a refugee, and you had one thing that you could take, no matter what it was that you own now, what would it be, was our question. What would be the one thing you would take? Okay, so that's a valuable thing to you because of your connection to it. But the highest giving that you can do is the giving of dharma. Highest means best. Now, what does that mean, to give dharma? And then the sutra goes and explains. It gives us all these choices of what it means to say the giving of dharma. And what do you imagine? The giving of dharma, it's one of the things it says is the gift of cultivating according to the teachings. In other words, doing what your teacher says. That's the highest kind of giving. For example, don't get angry. If somebody can say, I want to give the highest kind of giving I can possibly give, I'm going to change a bad habit. From the point of view of Samantabhadra, that's worth more than, they say, stupas made of the 7 precious things, as many as sand grains in the Ganges River, which means a lot of stupas, right? If you could give Berkeley Buddhist monasteries and make it of gold, silver, lapis lazuli, crystal, mother of pearl, rubies, and carnelian, not just wood and mortar, right? If you could give that as a gift, filling the city of Berkeley, California, and gave it to the Buddha, that's a lot of merit, a lot of goodness. Doesn't match one, they say, part in an Upanishad, the smallest part of the value of changing your bad habits. That's what it says. And so here's a comparison it makes. It says, this kind of giving is more important. Changing your bad habit. That's rare. That's valuable. Why? Why does it say that? You're Ian, right? Yeah.
I think because a lot of the time you can get people to change their bad habits for a day, or by face value make it seem outwardly that they have changed, but then a few days later they'll revert back to their old ways and their habit will not have actually changed, but it was a short-term difference.
Are you speaking personally? I have
to some extent.
Some extent.
I
know what you're saying.
I guess I'll admit that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably if you pass the mic, we could all say the same. You're right, because why? Habits are hard to change. But that's part of it. There's another part of it, which is this. It's that if we can actually ourselves uncover a bit of that light of our own nature, we're closer to Buddhahood. We are further along the path, and the Buddha's work of waking us up advances. Right? Think about that. How much light do I release when I quit getting angry? You think, not very much? Well, from the Buddhist point of view, it's huge. And if you think about that, that's how long it takes to become a Buddha. Because there's so much stuff I don't know. I am thoroughly coated in wuming, ignorance, right? We all are. Otherwise, we would figure stuff out. We wouldn't be so confused about stuff. Okay? So, yeah, but still, that's the highest giving. Doing things the way you're taught, right? 依照奉行, practicing the way we're taught. That's one kind of giving. Another one is how does it go? 风修供养. So returning to principle, they say. In other words, cause and effect. If everything you do, before you do it, you say to yourself, this is going to come back to me. I'm planting a seed. Do I want this when it comes ripe? I won't do it otherwise. What's it? Golden rule. The golden rule. If you live according to the golden rule, you are cultivating the giving of dharma. Right? You are cultivating 法布施法供养. 主供养中法供养. Right? Golden rule, right? I'm going to only do things that I want done to me. Golden rule. I am not going to do things I don't want done to me. Like what? Lying. Who likes to be lied to? Nobody. So I won't do it because I don't want to be lied to. So I'm not going to lie. There's the giving of dharma, right? You connect cause and effect. So that's one of them. There's like 5 different kinds of giving of dharma. So that's in terms of giving. We talked about letting go of stuff. Throwing stuff away, that's a kind of giving, right? You give it away to the dumpster. But what about renunciation? Boy, I really like coffee. But I know that when I drink a lot of coffee, I tend to speed, and I miss details because I'm going so fast. Maybe I'll give up coffee. Why? Because I like stillness. I've been meditating and I don't need coffee so much, right? No, that's just a suggestion. I'm sorry, I'm not suggesting. Oh no, he mentioned coffee. Now I got to think about it. No. I drink coffee, all right, and I'm not going to give it up until we get to Oregon, or maybe not till later. So, coffee has its value if you're driving a vehicle. It helps you stay awake. That's just an example. How about cigarettes, right? Cigarettes pretty much get a bad rap these days, no matter what Liggett and Myers would like you to believe, the tobacco manufacturers. So, I will give up cigarettes. Why? Because I know it would be better for me. I'll live longer if I can. That's renunciation. That's hard, okay? So that's that kind of giving. There's sharing is a kind of giving. I have enough, I'll share with someone else. I will give even when I don't have to. There's joy there, okay? Then there's gongyang, offering up. Taking something that is valuable and sharing it with giving it to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, giving it to sages, giving it to Dharma teachers. Okay? You say that's comparatively a higher kind of giving. And where are we now? We are back in the verse of the sutra. What are the devas doing? The devas are gong yang rulai shi chung bian. They're making offerings to the Tathagata and their joy is unbounded. Okay, think about that, man. We come to Buddhism, why? We like to meditate, mostly in this country. People like to meditate. Why do you come to Buddhism? My parents are Buddhist. That's all I knew. We were always Buddhist. I come because that's what we did, says some of us, right? Other people, I come to Buddhism because I kind of like the feeling. I like peacefulness. I like the calm I get. All these different reasons. Who do you know who says, I come to Buddhism because I want to be a better giver? I want to learn to be more generous. Nobody connects that, right? It's huge in the sutra. Giving everywhere. Sanmun Tikung, right? The giving of wealth, giving of fearlessness, courage, giving of dharma. You give, but you empty out the giver. You empty out the gift. There's no gift, there's no giver, there's no receiver. Wow, that's profound. What does that mean, right? So giving is a huge part of Buddhism. I've never heard anybody say, I became a Buddhist so I could be really generous.
What do you think is the best way of breaking the rift of feeling like you need things? Because I think the biggest divide between people having things and being able to freely give things away is feeling like they need things more for themselves than, feeling like I would benefit more having these things than giving them away. Like some of my friends, they're able to, purchase really large amounts of food, give them away to homeless people in the park, and they share with each other and do these things. And it seems like you have to have a certain state of mind that you build up over time or something like that. But what do you think is the best way to develop that?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. Here's what's at stake. We live in a society that tells us that more is good and the most is the best, right? We live in a consumer society that encourages greed, right? We do. You know, one of the most powerful examples was Bernard Madoff, this financier in New York City who consciously, knowingly, on purpose, willingly cheated people out of their pensions. He took entire, not just individuals, he created these funds that he would go to, like, for example, the let's say the California Teachers Association, CTA. California Teachers Association has dues that its members pay, right? You pay dues, union dues, for example, or dues in your club. CTA would take its dues and they would hire a financial analyst to take that money and invest it. Instead of just sitting in an account that gets like 1.5% a year, their MBA treasurer would say, hey, there's a fund that if I invested here, we can get 6% a year. Well, if they invested in Bernard Madoff's securities, they wound up losing it all, right? School systems went out of business. They went bankrupt, right? City governments do this. The entire government invests their monies in this guy. He's one of many who took the money and moved it around schemes so that there never was any money behind it. He would just move it and ship it off overseas to his own private account. So that's greed, right? And somehow in America we have gotten to a place, not just America, but it's certainly strong in America, where greed is good. We feel that if you get more, it's yours, right? Hold on, let me think this through. Right? So, okay, your friends and your first question. What about your friend? What do you do to get to a place where you can give food to the homeless and think this is good, right? It's because the answer is you see clearly. Because you see through that wind in America, that tide. You know how tides come? Whoosh, whoosh. Tell the tide to stop rolling in. It won't. The tide comes in. We have a tide of greed in America. There is a thought in our country, alive in our society right now, that says more is good, the most is best. We have a situation of economic disparity where 1% of the population has wealth equal to the entire wealth of small nations, right? There's, what is it, I haven't seen the figure, something like 6,000 people in America combined have more money than 40% of the rest of the world.
The two wealthiest men in the world have a higher GDP than the poorest, like 40 or 50 countries.
Correct, correct. Yeah, and that's called out of balance. That doesn't work. Okay, but why? We have created a system that rewards that. All right, so say it's not true? No, it's true. It's true. Why are we doing this? It's because, one word, greed. And in Buddha Dharma, the Buddha talked, he laid it right out. He said, no, this is called poison. Greed is a poison. So, how do you deal with it? One is you look ahead. You say, okay, today I ate so much food. Suppose today I ate twice as much food as that. What would happen? You'd be sick. You'd be rolling on the floor. You'd probably have to get a stomach pump, or you'd have to move it out pretty quickly. We can only swallow so much food per day. Tonight, the bed you're going to sleep in, how big is it? Well, it's the same size, right? Maybe 6.5 feet, a little longer than your body, maybe. Suppose you slept in a bed that was 3 times that big. Could you sleep in all of that bed? You'd have to roll all night back to cover the whole bed, right? So We still take that much bed, we still eat that much food, and yet, if we follow the trend, the tide, we need houses with multiple bedrooms. We need bigger beds. We need, better and better quality food, right? Well, the Buddha said that takes that view of self and it distorts it. We will not find freedom and liberation by pursuing that. In fact, it'll poison us. So, how do you do it? You see through it. And then, this is key, you have to have somebody show you. You have to have a role model, somebody who gives. Okay, I have a friend from Malaysia who is involved with, who's a Buddhist, and who, I don't know if it's Tsuji connection or not, but really cares for his parents and sees that his parents are confused about stuff. Parents are money, 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 right? It's all about money. Talk about money, think about money, work about money. Among their siblings and their uncles and aunts, they talk about money only, right? So the friend said, I really want my parents to be more than name Buddhists. I want them to be Buddhists in practice. So what did she do? He talked about it, got his parents to one day buy about 100 biendang. The biendang is bento, or bento in Japan, right? Biendang is a lunchbox, a box lunch. And it was styrofoam, and it had, some mifan, it had some tofu gan, and it had some, had some broccoli and some baozi. And they got some, vegetable or fruit juice, and they took it down to a park in KL and set up on a table, and then stood there and waited and said, we have some food for you. And at first there was nobody, and then one person came over and saw this table stacked with food and said, what are you doing with that? He said, well, we would like to offer you a lunch. Do you have any friends who could use that? And he said, I don't care about them. I'd like some food, though. The person was like, give me. He said, no, we won't give until you find 2 more. Okay. So running, came back with 3 or 4 more people. Food, lunch, right? So they said, okay, can each of you bring 2? So they all went back, and they said, we're going to offer this food at noon. So it was now 11:30. So come back. They came back, and there was like 200 people, coming back, and they all started rushing the table. And my friend, and his dad, the point was the parents were there seeing this. The dad stood in front and said, wait, this isn't right. First of all, we're going to recite the Buddha's name. No, he didn't say anything about that. Crap, what do I want to do that for? No, we want to recite the Buddha's name because this is a really good thing. It makes it very special. And okay, you know how to do that? No, I don't do that. No. I'm Muslim. Okay, right. That's okay. You can, So everybody get in line, recite the Buddha's name, and then they gave them the biendang. And the friend looked at his dad, and his dad was radiant. Why? He was now in the role of benefactor, of donor, of giver, someone who was, and he saw in the faces of these hungry people the joy of receiving a gift. And it was food, and it filled the need, right? And so they went back home, and this son, said, well, what was that like? Mom and Dad said, let's do it again, only 200 next time. Let's get more and do it again. That was really good, And so I'm saying you need a role model. You need somebody to lead the way. When you see the joy of giving, it touches something true and genuine inside. It's watering our sprouts of goodness, our merit and virtue. So, think, can you imagine Guanyin Bodhisattva's happiness? Right? Thousands and thousands of hands and eyes, 42 thousands, right? And everyone is like, Namo Gonyen Pusa, you need this. There. Namo Gonyen Pusa, oh, there. Namo Gonyen Pusa, saved you. Now, is Guanyin Pusa a real being? I've had experiences when somebody helped out, right on time, just what I needed. But imagine, what joy, why do Buddhas look so, peaceful and calm? Buddhas are happy beings because of the giving that they can do. Imagine if you can give in a way that ends suffering. Wow. Now, mind you, often people don't get it, right? Often people turn right around and, you say, the power of habits, right? So there's lots of suffering. If you could see into the hells, you wouldn't have that smiling face. But Erstor Bodhisattva pulls people out of where the suffering is the worst. So, the joy of giving, man, it's once you see it, it's really here. And it's as simple as letting go of greed, as simple as flowers for mom, or breakfast in bed, or simply letting her know that you're okay, right? Moms are satisfied with very little. It doesn't take much to please mom. And if she knows that you're okay, that's often, how much the more if she knows you're really fine, you're really happy, and you can't fool her. You're sending her the message that you're okay. That's pretty satisfying. Can you imagine when you're the mom? I can't, because I will never be a mom, but, when you're the mom, what do you want your kid to be? Satisfied. Okay. Not needy, greedy, unhappy, grasping, frustrated, angry. Right? So, that's giving of dharma. If the mom is the field of blessing. Okay. We have devas giving. What are they giving? Let's go down to paragraph 2. 天竺才女周天月，亦以言辞歌赞佛，悉以菩萨为身故，欲彼生中发誓言。Next line. 佛愿久远今乃满，佛道久远今乃得，释迦文佛至天宫。立天忍者久乃见. Comely goddesses played celestial music. They sang the Buddha's praises in melody and lyrics, all due to the Bodhisattva's magnificent spirit. Then they spoke these words. The Buddha's vows at last now reach fulfillment. Buddhahood finally has been realized. Shakyamuni Buddha has come to heaven's halls. At last we behold the benefactor of humans and devas. So, there we have, that's our window. We have a comely goddess playing celestial music, right? Celestial music. Imagine what that sounds like. What are we have pentatonic and diatonic music. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Diatonic. Right? We have those 7 notes that repeat. And what is the scale in the heavens? Wow. You imagine what a celestial violin sounds like? A celestial chin. Oh, Master Dashing and I saw a video recently of the video was called Guanxi, and it was about Buddhist musicians. It was about music, traditional classical spiritual music in Japan. Somebody had done research and gone through Japan and found places where people are keeping old music alive. One was the music of No drama, right? N-O-H, Nung in Chinese. No drama, the music that they play, the drum, that kind of weird no music they play. And then they had somebody who played the sheng, the Chinese sheng, and it's called the shou in Japanese. And it's a woman, she looks like she might be a secretary in the steno pool, or she doesn't look distinguished in any particular way, but she plays the sheng. And the sheng is this pipe organ. It has these vertical pipes. It looks like a phoenix with the tails, you know, like that. And it's got reeds, and you go, I can't do it because it's polyphonic. And it's got, you know, all these different unison octaves of high, low. It's kind of like, if you can imagine, it's got a reed, so it's like a clarinet or a saxophone, only it's like a harmonica, very celestial. And I'm telling you this because why? This woman who plays, she improvises. She's totally untutored. She says that her teacher and the tradition says this is what deva music sounds like. She says, "Tian shang lai de yue." You say, it's deva music. And she goes into like caves that have these echoes and goes, and it's a very ethereal, really amazing sound. Now, some people, when you play the sheng badly, it's a lot like bagpipes played badly. You just want to like stop that, please. You know, the dogs go because it's like, oh, you know. So you have to play the sheng in a celestial way. But anybody? We have a bagpiper in our neighborhood. You know that? We have a guy who's about 2 blocks over who pulls out his bagpipes and practices about 2 or 3 times a week. And it's always in the afternoon, and the neighbors have come to live with it. It is so loud, you can hear it blocks and blocks away. And this piper is just going at it, playing all these Scottish airs and reels and jigs. And I, like it. I like bagpipes, but I'm 2 blocks away. I think if I were any closer, probably I would like it a little less. But this piper just gives the whole neighborhood a concert 2 or 3 times a week. It's quite wonderful. So here we have comely goddesses playing celestial music on their celestial bagpipes. And they sing the Buddha's praises in melodies and lyrics. Amitabha's body is the color of gold. The splendor of his hallmarks has no peer. Right? Amitofo. Shanjin Shai, have all these wonderful praises. The Chinese tradition has beautiful, incredible praises that we don't get to hear very often because a lot of them are good. They're songs that are only sung kind of outside the Buddha hall. They're not liturgical. They're not for the ceremonies. And we have some nuns in Taiwan who are really good at these. They play them, they sing them very beautifully. And I think there's no fear that they're going to vanish in the next couple centuries. They're there to stay. But coming to this country, they're kind of a curiosity because there's no root for Chinese music in the wind and the water of this continent. So we have to come up with our own. We have to have our own praises. And we're on our way to Buddha Root Farm, where our focus is Medicine Buddha. And I'm going to, early on, encourage people to think about new praises for Medicine Buddha. How are we going to praise him? All due to the Bodhisattva's magnificent spirit, these devas play their music and praise the Buddha. And, okay, this next stanza, notice there is a jo. It's not only jo, it's jo. Long time. Fo yuan, Buddha's vows, jo yuan. Long time and long running. Naiman. Jin naiman. Now, finally, full. The Buddha's vows, jo yuan, for a very long time, have been running, but now they're full. Fo Dao, the Buddha's path, Zhou Yuan, for a very long time coming, Jin Nai De, now finally has been accomplished. We got it, realized it. Shijia, one for Shakyamuni, for Buddha, that's the Buddha's name. Zhi Tiangong has come to our place, the palace of heaven, our celestial halls, heaven's halls. Li Tian Ren Zhe, benefiting devas and humans, one, Jiu Nai Jian. Finally we get to see. We get to see the Buddha finally. Okay? What is that? That's what a god sings and prays. We're hearing contemporary, not CCM, contemporary Christian music. We're hearing contemporary CBM, contemporary Buddhist music, as sung by gods. These are devas praising, not just us. Right? Usually we praise God, right? We praise the Buddha. Here are the devas praising the Buddha. How interesting. Is everybody aware of contemporary Christian music? Is anybody aware of contemporary Christian music? Connie, Angela, Phil, good? Okay, young guys do, they know. All right, what is that? If you don't know what contemporary Christian music is, get in your car and drive east and punch on the radio. You can't avoid it. It fills the airwaves through mid-America. About halfway to Sacramento it starts, right? There aren't very many CCM stations in the Bay Area. There aren't very many country stations in the Bay Area. If you want to hear country music, you've got to start heading north to Santa Rosa. Then you meet it, right? You have to go past the Marin Civic Center, and then you get Froggy 92.9, 25 in a row. Country music never stops. The hits keep on rolling. Froggy 92.9. You don't believe me? Punch in 92.9 on your way to City of 10,000 Buddhas. And I should say, and don't thank me. I mean it, don't thank me, because you won't want to listen. Country music is another world. Contemporary Christian music is another world. The reason I bring it up is it is huge. Many, many, many people in this country are Christian, self-identified as Christian. And there's a lot of young folks who don't want to listen to hip-hop. They don't want to listen to sticky pop. They don't know where to listen, because those lyrics are advocating unchristian behavior, let's say. So where do they go? They listen to Christian music, which sounds every bit like regular rock and roll, only the lyrics are praising Jesus, praising God. That's what they do. It's this, right? Only this is our Buddhist flavor of it. It's the second of Samantabhadra's vows, Cheng Zan Rulai, praising the thus come one. Only you pick your deity, right? Contemporary Christian music, when I say all you do is head east and turn your radio on, the entire country and Canada is blanketed with the station after station of what sounds like rock and roll, but if you listen carefully, they're talking about praise His name, praise Jesus, which is fine, you know. It's a whole genre, and there are stars, and there are, you know, ads. It's a world of commerce, commercial music, focused on praising God. We Buddhists are kind of slow. We have, you know, upon the earth below the sky, the Buddha has no peer, right? Let's praise the Buddha. We have Amitabha's body is the color of gold. Tomorrow we're going to be singing Medicine Master, thus come one, Namo, Namo. Praise. That's praising the Buddha, right? So we have Earth Store, Bodhisattva, wonderful beyond compare. That one, praise of Earth Store. We have Bodhisattva Guan Shi Yin is wonderful past gratitude. In our yellow book, that's the Guan Yin praise. So we have them. We have the beginnings of praise, but it's nothing like contemporary Christian music, which is millions, millions of hits, right? No exaggeration. So there we go. What have we learned? We've learned about giving. We've learned about praising. Because why? That's what devas do. What do the gods do in heaven? They cultivate. What do they cultivate? Giving, praising. Their virtue is extended. They're going to be gods for a long time. All right. So we will be back on page 30 and 31 at the bottom next Saturday night. And should we be a little late, it's because we are on the road. Not that I'm predicting we will be. I hope we've been pretty good so far, making it back. But we start Saturday morning very, very early near Reedsport, Oregon, turn the car south and come rolling down Highway 5 to get back. And so far, barring any, unforeseen, we should be here by about 5. And Dashing Pasha will be keeping the monastery rolling along as normal for that week. So if for any reason we don't make it back, Dashing Pasha will be here lecturing on the Avatamsaka. No, he'll be helping us meditate, and we will know. It's not that we won't show up. If for any reason we're late, we'll let you know. But I suspect that all will be well, and we'll be continuing our investigation of the Avatamsaka Sutra. Okay, shall we transfer the merit? Today was quite wonderful at lunch. We went around the room, in the dining room, and asked where people were from. We thought we had the farthest when we said, "Who's from London, England?" And half the room raised their hand, and 5 or 6 people raised their hand. And then we found out we had people from Italy, all the way from Genoa, who would come. And we had uncles and aunts from Los Angeles here for the wedding today. And we had people coming from New York all the way to hear the Dharma. So, quite wonderful to see so many folks gathering from all over the world just to be here to share their light. And sorry, we're not there yet. 12 strings, When you hear this woman play the shung, the Japanese woman, it's quite amazing. This film came about as part of the International Buddhist Film Festival. Our friend Gaetano Maeda encouraged this film and is distributing it. Some of the music is Buddhist, but not all. There, that's the one we're missing, right there. One of the better scenes in the movie is this Buddhist monk who, I'm not sure the tradition, Shingon or something, and he's doing a fire ceremony, and he's lighting incense and got the robes on, and he's chanting in Japanese, and very, very austere, and the incense smoke curls up like this, you know. Then he stands up, takes off his robe, and goes over to a turntable, turns it on, picks up the mic, and starts beatboxing and doing DJ like that. And it's all the different kinds of sacred music happening in Japan at the time. So. Okay, we're tuned up and we're ready. So please make a wish. How you would like to heal things that are broken in the world, and it's your wish and your virtue that goes out to people who can use that light. So let's do that now. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward, may all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. So I got one. Yes, Dashima. Okay, next Saturday, usually on Saturdays, we have our Buddha recitation, our Universal Door chapter or repentance. Next Saturday, because so many people are away, we're going to skip that Saturday. So just to let you know. I wanted to give you an interesting place that contemporary Buddhist music might go. It's not contemporary, it's from the Tang Dynasty, so it's 1,300 years old, but it's called the Song of Enlightenment, Zheng Dao Ge. And it was sung back then. Master Hua can recite all 62 verses from memory, and does it every day, and when he did it, it was completely awesome. It was written in Chinese, and probably was part of an oral tradition, kind of like folk song, like you know how nursery rhymes go around? When kids do jump rope, step on a crack and break your mother's back. How does it go? Yeah, like that. Yeah, every culture has, things the kids sing as they skip to school, nursery rhymes, Sister Mary, quite contrary, how does your garden grow? With cockle shells and silvery bells, all fair maids all in a row. So China had those. And Master Yongjia took those melodies, I think, we don't know the melodies because they're 1,300 years ago, took those melodies and put his enlightened wisdom into song form. So there are 62 verses, and I'm going to start now, and we'll see how long it takes. So I hope you brought your sleeping bags. We're going to be here for, no, I'm kidding. 63 verses. Long. So instead of doing the whole thing, which would someday we hope, I picked out a couple topics, and one of them is an analogy, the mirror of the mind. Seeing the mind as a mirror, the mirror of the mind. Xin Jing, right? So, 心静明光无碍，豁然银河九大盖，万商村落隐现中，一切无内无外，一切圆光无内外. That's how it goes in Chinese. How does it go in English? I got 3 verses, because there's number 28, number 44, number 4, number 28, number 44, all mention the mirror of the mind. So I brought 3 out. I translated them. How are we going to sing them? What are we going to do to bring these forward? I think it should have a banjo. Banjo would be really good because it's got a high lonesome sound. If anybody knows mountain music genre, the high lonesome sound. Something like this. The mirror of the mind is bright without a flaw. Everything's reflected. You can see it all. All 10,000 things revealed, perfect, round, and bright. No inside, no outside, just brilliant, pure light. The mind is the root, dharmas are all dust. Mind and dharmas both are like a mirror stained and cracked. Polish out the stains and cracks, the mirror shines like new. Forget both mind and dharmas, the nature now is true. Goodbye to good and evil, goodbye to loss and gain. In stillness and tranquility, you never ask again. Your wisdom mirror was coated thick, you never wiped it clean. Now it shines without a flaw, there's nothing you can't see. That's 3 verses, the mirror of the mind. So it's in Chinese, it's really powerful, and I think in English it could be powerful too. There's the wish-fulfilling pearl, 3 verses. The Buddha nature, 3 verses. Great. Okay, that's a flavor. So, contemporary Buddhist music. Coming up, we'll see how far we get with that. Tomorrow, come at 6 o'clock, or do you leave at 6 or you leave at 6:15? Dashing Fasher. Leave at 6. Okay, get here at 5:45. If you would like to go meditate in nature, Master Dashing has organized a meditation walk and sit in Tilden Park, which is our regional park up on top of the hills here. And it goes from 6 until about 10. It alternates walking and sitting. And the mornings in the summer here are foggy, which means cool. So bring a sweater, bring something to sit on, yoga mat or something that you can roll up and sit on, and sturdy shoes, something to walk on. Maybe bring some water, something to sip in a backpack. And if you have a camera, apparently it's there's some moments of real beauty when the mist rises off of Jewel Lake and Lake Anza. So that's tomorrow, Sunday morning, starting from the monastery here at 6. Let's get here a little early. We had a woman come at at 6:10, and everybody had left 5 minutes earlier the first day. So I guess she connected later, but she just missed, and I had to say, I'm sorry, they've gone. Where are they going? Up. Cloud hidden, whereabouts unknown, right? So she said, well, I had to take the bus to get. Oh, I felt bad for her, but I'm sure she'll connect the next week. So it's going to happen all July, and do check it out tomorrow morning. Okay, any more announcements? Anything that we need to know? If you are driving, get a good rest. Good advice. Okay, well, we had a very happy event today here at the monastery, a wonderful wedding. The newlywed couple are with us tonight. So they survived, and not only survived, they flourished and made a lot of people happy. Lots of bright light today. Blessings for the couple and for the world. So a new Buddhist family, official. So great. All right, so let us, as Shifu would say, 识道之进，非道之退，在善而从，不善而改. See you next week. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Namo Da Fang Guang Fo Hua Yin Jing Hua Yin Hai Fo Pu Shan